everybody, welcome to Calling All Kids. I'm so glad you're joining us today. I'm Jennifer Temple, your storyteller, and I have two special friends joining me today. Who do we have?
I'm Sophia.
Hi, Sophia.
And I'm Connor.
Great. I'm so glad Connor and Sophia are joining us today for our stories. And as you can see, I'm dressed up as a pilgrim because we're going to be talking about and reading about Thanksgiving. So are you ready to hear some Thanksgiving stories today? Great. So we're going to start off. Our first story is called The Pilgrim's First Thanksgiving. And it's written by Anne McGovern, and it's illustrated by Elroy Freeman. Are you ready? All right. So can you see some of the pictures on there? So these are the pilgrims. You can see some are kind of dressed like I am. And then we have some Native Americans in the background. Yes, Sophia?
You're the only one who really has black on.
Yes, they're wearing, they have prettier colors, don't they?
They have on the skirt they have red, and the dress they have white and blue.
Right, so let's get started. Are you ready to hear our story? And we're going to read the story to find out how Thanksgiving came to be. Why do we have Thanksgiving?
I wonder.
Do you have any ideas how Thanksgiving?
Not at all.
No, well, let's get started.
Maybe the turkeys made it Thanksgiving.
Do you think? Connor, do you have any ideas?
I know a little bit. Like I know, the Pilgrims taught the Native Americans how to plant food.
Oh, that is an important piece. Yes, what's
Maybe because of the harvest party.
Oh, we learned about harvest, didn't we, in school today? All right, let's get started and see what's happening. A long time ago, some men and women, boys and girls, 2 dogs and a cat sailed on a ship across the sea. They left their old country because they could not pray the way they wanted. The people were called pilgrims. The ship was called the Mayflower. Have you heard that ship before, the Mayflower? Yes, Sophia?
I saw pilgrims were a type of fruit.
Oh, you thought pilgrims were a type of fruit?
Yeah.
They're actually, well, I don't know about a pilgrim fruit. Do you know?
I mean, a pilgrim is like a vegetable.
Oh, or a vegetable. I haven't heard that, but that would be really interesting, wouldn't it? I know that the pilgrims in this book are about people that are coming to a new country so that they can pray and worship the way they want. So here they are in the Mayflower. The Mayflower was as big as 2 trucks, but it was not big enough. The pilgrims and sailors crowded together to sleep. They crowded together to eat. The children had no room to run around. They had no toys. They had to leave most of their things behind. How do you think they feel about that? Leaving all your toys behind? Connor, would you want to do that?
No.
All your toys? No, it'd be sad. What do you think, Sophia?
No, because I'm very protective of my toys.
Yes. So just think how they feel. I love how you're connecting with them.
I have a new dog coming in, and I didn't want to get rid of any of my toys, so my mom had to move them all in the basement.
Oh my goodness. Let's
and
keep
the
reading and
basement
see.
is all full of toys.
The pilgrim children hated the food on the ship. They had to eat it, though, because there was nothing else. Nothing but the same old salted beef or fish. Nothing but the hard, dry biscuits, a little bite of cheese, and a little bit of butter. After a while, the food turned bad because they don't have refrigerators on the Mayflower. There was not enough water for drinking or washing. Yes, Connor?
Sometimes there's nothing else my dad can give me for dinner, so I just have to eat it even if I don't like it.
That's right, right? Sometimes we don't have a choice. Let's keep listening and then we'll ask some more questions. So look at them sleeping here, all snug together because there's not a lot of room. The children couldn't sleep in warm, cozy beds. They slept on the hard, cold floor of the ship. They slept in the same clothes that they wore every day. The clothes, they started to get torn and dirty and smelly. Can you imagine never washing your clothes and wearing the same clothes day after day? What do you think, Sophia?
That stings.
Yeah, that would not be a good, right?
So, whatever food you get, you should be grateful. You should be grateful you're even getting food.
That's right, absolutely. Look at the storm here. Does this look a little scary to you?
If I was on that, I would.
Day after day, things got worse. Storms came. The wind blew hard. The waves tossed the ship about. The Mayflower rolled and creaked in the stormy sea. The rain soaked the ship. The rain poured on the pilgrims. They were cold and wet. Many of the pilgrims got very sick. Would this terrible voyage ever end? The voyage is a word for their trip, their long trip. They prayed for the day that they would be on land. Look at that. Uh-oh. Did the storm go away? Look, it's a nice sunny day. Let's see if this is the day when they find land. They had sailed away in warm September. Now it was cold November, just like it is now here. They had been on the Mayflower for 2 months. That's 60 days.
Months?
And 3 days. So 2 months and plus 3 days would be how many? So if we know 2 months is 60, what's 3 more? 60. 63, Connor, that's right. The next day, they saw land. They were very happy, but they were scared too. What kind of land was this? There were no houses. There were no stores. No people to meet them. Only an empty, white, sandy beach with trees and bushes behind it. Oh, but it was good to be on land again. The pilgrim children ran up and down the beach, feeling the soft white sand on their feet. Yes?
It's because not a lot of people go to the beach on a cold day.
No.
So you had to travel more in the real town to see them.
That's right. So here they are first landing, and there's nobody there to greet them because are they in a new land, a new place?
And most of them are probably in their houses.
Do you think? Let's find out. It looks like it's wilderness here because this happened many years ago in 1620, they landed there. Do you know how many years ago that was? If we're in 2022.
The 90s?
Well, more even way before the 90s. This is over 400 years ago.
40s?
400 years ago, older than Mrs. Temple.
65 years.
So now we are in the winter. Winter was coming. The pilgrim had to find a safe place for all of them to live. Every day, a group of pilgrims searched the wild countryside. At last, they came to a place with running brooks and rivers and good land for planting. It was a good place for them to build their town, and they were going to call it Plymouth, their new town. Can you drink salt water? Do you think? No. So that's why they want to find like a river or a brook because it has fresh water for them.
Only fishes or stuff. Sea animals can drink them.
Absolutely. They wanted a street to go from the shore, so from the beach, to the top of a hill. They wanted a fort on top of the hill. They wanted houses on both sides of the street. They would have to make everything themselves. It would take a long, long time to finish building Plymouth. In the meantime, they would have to sleep on the Mayflower. Can you imagine going to a new place and there's no houses or restaurants or food there and you have to build and make everything? How do you think the children are feeling, Connor? Do you think and the parents, are they a little nervous, do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little scary. Sophia, how do you think they feel?
Scary and stuff.
Yes.
Is the pilgrim the ground?
Yep, so the pilgrims are the people, okay? And they're called that because they're leaving their home, packing everything up to go to a new place where they can worship, like go to the church that they want to go to, okay? Can you see the Mayflower in the background here?
Yeah.
The first winter in Plymouth was terrible for the pilgrims. They could not finish building their homes before the snow fell. They could not find enough food in the forests. The pilgrims worked as hard as they could, but they were hungry and cold and weak. That winter, many of the pilgrims got sick, and some of the pilgrims died. Because do they have doctors there or hospitals to make them feel better?
That's really sad.
Connor, do you have a question?
I see the ice on one side of the page.
What do you see there?
Ice from the river.
Yes, you see lots of ice and snow.
Yeah.
And they're still living on the Mayflower. Is there a heat on the Mayflower? No. Find out what happens here. Now spring came. What happens in spring?
Flowers.
Yes, flowers come. Is the weather getting warmer now?
Yeah.
So let's see what happens. At last the snows began to melt. Spring was coming. There was so much work to be done. The Pilgrims worked every day but Sunday. Every day but Sunday, the Pilgrims worked very hard. They worked making houses. They made their houses from bark and branches. They made the roofs from straw and vines. Each house had only one room. Does your house at home here in Ashland have one room?
No.
You have lots of rooms, don't we?
Like 50,000.
Yes, lots of rooms, but they only have one, and they all have to squish in there, the whole family. Each room had only one room and a small space upstairs. The house got cold when the wind blew. It blew in through the holes in the walls. The house got wet when the rain dropped down through the holes in the roof. The only heat came from the fire in the fireplace. Sometimes sparks flew up the chimney and set the roof on fire. Do you remember what the roof is made of? What's the roof made of, Connor?
Straw.
Straw. And if you get fire on that, is it going to burn?
Yeah.
Yes. So guess what they would have to do? Do you think they called the fire department?
No.
No, they had to go out with buckets of water and put out the fire
And
themselves.
sometimes the fire is so bad, it could wreck your whole house down, and you had to do it all over again.
That's right. And didn't they work really hard to build their houses?
Oh, yeah.
Yes. The Pilgrims worked making furniture for their homes. They didn't have much, just some stools and benches and beds. And to save space, the children's beds were pushed underneath the parents' bed. So they would pull that bed out, the kids would sleep on it, and then they would push it back in the daytime. People used the benches for tables and put their plates on their knees. So they didn't really have a table, always have enough room at the table, so they would have to eat on their laps. Their plates and bowls were wooden, and guess what? They didn't have forks or spoons. They had to use seashells. So they would go and find shells and scoop up the food with the seashells.
That sounds disgusting.
The only iron things in the house were the iron pots that they brought on the Mayflower. See their pot here? And they brought that with them on the Mayflower. The Pilgrims started planting gardens. What do you think they're planting in their gardens? Do they have restaurants or Shaw's or grocery stores to go to? So what do you think they're planting? What do you think, Sophia? Vegetables?
Yeah.
Yeah. What kind of vegetables maybe? What do you think?
Maybe carrots.
Carrots. Can you think of a vegetable, Connor?
Maybe corn.
And corn, absolutely. So they're starting to make gardens so that they can have food to eat. The Pilgrims made a good friend who helped them. His name was Squanto. Squanto was one of the people who had lived near Plymouth years before. He taught the Pilgrims everything about the land he knew so well. He took the Pilgrims to the rivers and showed them where the fish swam and the best ways to catch the fish. He took the Pilgrims to the forest and showed them where to find deer and turkeys. And he showed them how to hunt. Can you see all the great pictures?
Yeah.
Can you see the deers?
Kind of sad you had to kill animals at
Yes. Now, Squanto was a Native American, and he's teaching the Pilgrims how to live off the land because he's lived there.
Kind of feels like Squanto.
Like you're squatting down? That is similar. Squanto lived with the Pilgrims for the rest of his life. The Pilgrim children loved him and followed him everywhere. He taught them stories and Native American words. He taught them how to make traps and how to skin animals. So they would take the skin off of the animals and use that for clothing to keep them warm in the winter. The children learned many things from Squanto. There was no real school in Plymouth. There were no schools there. Remember, they were making everything? So the children learned reading and writing from the Pilgrims who knew how to read and write. The children learned things at Plymouth. They learned about having good manners. What's a good manner? What's something we need to know when we want to have good manners? Can you think of one, Sophia?
Listen and be respectful.
Yes, be respectful. Do we say please and thank you? So those are the things they really worked on.
And also, I think they're like those four couples and stuff.
Yeah.
I think they're like the only ones there in that whole world.
Yes.
In the whole town.
Now you see here the pilgrim. Can you see the grown-ups sitting down?
Yeah.
So that was the proper way to eat during pilgrim time. is that the adults got to sit down and the children had to stand and eat. And the children could not talk while they were eating. Only the grown-ups would talk, and the children just had to eat their food quietly. Do you do that now in your house?
No.
So things are definitely different, right? 400 years later. The Pilgrim children learned to work hard, just as hard as the grown-ups. They had to watch the cornfield and shoo away the birds and the animals. They had to make the big roasts and the turkeys. So they didn't have ovens, so they would have an open fire. And see how they had to turn the roast? Why do you think they're turning the roast over the fire? Why do you think that's so important for them to do? What do you think, Connor?
Oh, I roast marshmallows and make s'mores sometimes. And my dad taught me how to turn it all the way around to get the whole thing cooked.
That's right. So do you think that's what they're doing here? I love how you made that connection. Very good. There were other special jobs too. Sometimes the children had to take the feathers from the chickens or the hens and put them in fabric burlaps, and they would make pillows and mattresses. Is that how you made your bed?
No.
Did you fill them with feathers from your hens and chickens at your house?
No. We still have like stuffs in these.
You just need to be careful now. Every day they cooked and they served, and they helped with the washing and the making of soap. They made their own soap. And they made candles. Everyone worked harder than they had ever worked before. They worked from morning until night, but no one wanted to give up and go back. And so when the Mayflower sailed back to England in April, there was not one single pilgrim on the Mayflower. So they all are willing to stay and keep working hard to make their new town. Yes, Connor?
How did the Mayflower drive away with no one in it?
Well, that's a very good question. There was a captain who would drive the boat, but he wasn't a pilgrim. He was the captain of the ship, so he sailed it back. Very good question.
He takes care of them.
That's right. So remember, they arrived in winter, and now it was spring. They were planting all of their gardens, and now it's summertime. By summer, 7 houses were finished, and more were being built. The gardens were bursting with vegetables. The corn was growing tall. The pilgrims met more friendly Native Americans who lived nearby. Their new friends showed the children where to find nuts and where wild fruit grew. The pilgrims and the Native Americans made flour. They made cornbread from the corn they grew, and they ate together. So you were right. Do you know what they're doing here? They're crunching up corn to make it into cornmeal so they can make flour. Yes, Sophia?
I was right on making carrots.
You can see the carrots. You were right too. I didn't notice that. Thank you. Summer was the best time for the pilgrims. There was plenty of food for them to eat, and there would be plenty when the winter came. And no one would be hungry. The pilgrims wanted to celebrate. So you ready? This is when the first Thanksgiving comes to be. Are you ready? The first Thanksgiving in America lasted for 3 whole days. Does Thanksgiving last for 3 whole days now?
No.
No, how many days is it?
1.
1 day, right? But the very first Thanksgiving with the Pilgrims and Native Americans back in 1621, 401 years ago, it was 3 days long. From the forest, the Pilgrims got wild turkeys, geese, and ducks. The Native Americans got 5 deer. From the waters, they caught lobsters and clams, oysters, and pounds of fish. Do you eat that for your Thanksgiving dinner? Do you have lobster?
No.
Ooh, I'm thinking I might make some lobster. What do you think at home, friends? Ask your parents to make some lobster for Thanksgiving dinner.
I'm not interested. I would prefer turkey.
Would you prefer turkey?
I would prefer turkey and pizza.
Oh, pizza sounds. Let's see if they have that. Let's see if they have turkey and pizza. From the gardens, they gathered cucumbers, carrots, Sophia, and cabbages, turnips, radishes, onions, and beets. Corn was cooked in many ways. There was popcorn, too. The Native Americans taught them how to use the corn and make it into popcorn.
I didn't know they could do that.
There were wild fruits for dessert. Thanksgiving was a time for eating and for sharing. Is that what happens now? Do you all eat food during Thanksgiving? Does everyone eat food? Do you all come together and share like with your family?
Yeah.
So it's still, a lot is very similar, right, than what happened at the first Thanksgiving. Look at this picture. All of the pilgrims took part. So did the Native American friends. 90 Native American friends came. There were more Native Americans than pilgrims. The men and boys played games and had jumping and running and racing contests. The women and girls spent most of the time cooking and serving. So do you play games when you have Thanksgiving with your family?
Not usually. No. I usually just eat.
You just eat the whole time? I love it. What do you eat too, Sophia?
Usually I just eat, but now this Thanksgiving, I might make some games up.
Yes, you could have some fun games. Or do you watch a movie? Do you watch a movie with your friends or your family?
Today I did want to watch Tucky #2.
Oh, let's see how it ends here.
This might.
Yes. The pilgrims had so much to be thankful for. The long, hard, terrible year was over. They gave thanks for good friends, new homes, and plenty of food. And they gave thanks for the new life that they had begun in, what was the name of their new town? Begins with a P. In Plymouth.
I just found that.
Yes. So, do you want to add something there?
There was a pumpkin.
You noticed a pumpkin in there.
I didn't.
You didn't see the pumpkin on the end there? Did you see that?
No.
Oh, look at that. Right there, a nice big giant orange pumpkin.
Oh.
And it looks like there's a turkey here that they were eating.
Yeah, and it looks like the cat's so full.
Yes. So I hope you all have a happy Thanksgiving. And what are you hoping to eat at Thanksgiving? I know you said you still want to eat turkey after hearing all these yummy things.
Me too.
Yeah. And then pizza? You still want pizza too?
Yeah.
Do you think you could still eat pizza at Thanksgiving? Yeah. Sure. Because Thanksgiving's a time.
Up to you. You can make whatever.
That's right. Whatever you want to eat. Because the most important thing about Thanksgiving is bringing your family together. And sharing. And do you go around the table and tell everyone what you're thankful for?
Yeah.
That's what we do at my family. At our household, we go around and everyone shares something that they're very thankful for.
We hold hands.
Right, and then you can do that too as well. Maybe you could start that tradition with your family. And do we wish everybody at home a happy Thanksgiving?
Yeah.
Yes. So on a count of 3, can we say happy Thanksgiving to our friends who are watching? Are you ready? 1, 2, 3.
Happy Thanksgiving!
And friends, we hope that you all have a happy Thanksgiving and hope you have some of the yummy foods that the pilgrims ate at the first Thanksgiving, like lobster and clams and corn, right? And most importantly, turkey. So thank you for joining us for Calling All Kids, and we hope to see you next time. Bye-bye.